Hello folks, Jonathan Milam here with a series of cornets that we're going to look at. 3 cornets. I'm going to use 2 mouthpieces, and I'm going to start off with a cornet which, strangely enough, is probably in better shape than most of the new cornets that I've played. But this is a King Master cornet, and the only blemish that I see on it, somebody really put a nice little ding just on the other side of the third valve. Other than that, just almost perfect. Now, this horn, the interesting thing about it, the other two are far different, but this is a relatively small bore. For a lot of people, it's a tight blow, and of all things, I've got 2 of these, one with the brass bell, one with the sterling silver. So before long, you'll probably see a video contrasting the sterling silver bell with the brass bell sound. The other 2 are a much larger bore, and while this does have a small bell, this would be tremendous for a student, young student, a novice, a beginner that hadn't really fully developed size lungs, or an older person that's slowing down a little bit, still wanted to play in their community band or orchestra, and did not want to be pushing a extra large bore cornet around. Love the sound. I'm going to use a mouthpiece I've used for a long time. It's a Curry VC. That's the vintage cornet. Definitely a very breathy sound, and since we've got that breathy sound going, we'll try and do our Chet Baker imitation. We'll play Summertime, and believe me, far cry from Chet Baker, but the tone perhaps will bring some memory there. King Master cornet with the Curry vintage cornet mouthpiece. It does get a breathy tone. It's hard to make it sharp, although you can. But love that breathy tone. Okay, the next horn I'm going to go to, it's another vintage. You can find these around. In fact, I've got a friend that is trying to sell one that's in much better condition. This one has got the main tuning slide froze. The third slide is froze. The second will occasionally come out. Thank God the first moves, but the big benefit of this cornet is twofold. While it has the smaller bell, probably a 4.6 inch at the flare, it's a large bore cornet. I think it's like a 483, 484, 485. That's almost the size of a very small tenor trombone, like a valve trombone. But the other thing is you get your tuning here, and this is not froze, and micro tuner, I think they're going to call this, and very nice. I had a horn worked on one time by a great brass tech in Houston, Steve Hultquist at Best Band, one of the best dent guys I have ever seen. The man he's a walking miracle. But he called me up and he said, Jonathan, your tuning bell instrument is ready to pick up. And I thought, tuning bell? And I was thinking a Schilke tuning slide, you know. No, but this is, on the bell, your tuning apparatus. And of course, when you tune from the back of the horn, it's much more exact. So thank God we've got that tuning. And large bore, very unique instrument. But again, we'll use this with the vintage cornet before we go to a more standard type and play them as well. potential with this is really very interesting. With that large bore, you can back off and still get a big sound and a nice tone. And again, I mentioned I've got a friend, his is in much better shape. Mine, the original from the 30s, no pinky hook. Or as one man said, they call that an octave tuning device, so you can cram it in for that extra little bit. But the one that he does have for sale is I think it still has some lacquer on it, good looking, bright yellow, and it does have the pinky hook, which is honestly a nice thing to have. All right, my cornet, and the one that I probably will never sell. I'll always have a little old special. Now this is a large bore as well. 468 I think is the bore on this. Of course, old special. I don't like the new specials as much. I like this one because it has the nickel silver bell with the bronze or copper tip, or they might even call it realloy, which they used for a while. Basically, it's brass through the beginning lead pipe and so on with some nickel silver trim. But your bell, nickel silver with bronze. I don't think there's any cornet that puts out a sound exactly like this. All right, summertime with the old special from about 60. I think they started making the tri-colored special in the late 50s. And this is with the vintage cornet sound mouthpiece. Really like this cornet, just don't think there's much like it. Years ago I got at the time they were fairly new and they were pretty much a cutting edge Yamaha 6335 cornet. It couldn't touch the old special for sound. And I genuinely believe that. Okay, now if you like Max Beaterbecky, I suppose. Not quite sure how to pronounce that. You've got a very much different mouthpiece here. This is a Reeves Cornet mouthpiece. It's had some adjustment on the mouthpiece proper. So it's not original anymore, but still going to give you a much sharper sound. And I'm going to play one that I've been fiddling with a lot lately. You might recognize it. This again is the King Master Cornet with a much more standard mouthpiece. All right, and that same Reeves Cornet mouthpiece with the Conn 80A. And I know we can get hung up, you know, if it doesn't cost $2,000, it's not what you need. I just don't think you're going to get a better sounding cornet than the three that I've got here. You can spend 10 times as much money as these cost, but I'm not convinced you'll really get a better sound. The old special from just about 60 with the Reeves Cornet Mouthpiece. All right, folks, thanks as always for tuning in. I haven't decided whether I'd want to sell this little Kingmaster cornet. It's in such excellent shape. It honestly looks almost unused. Just a very, very nice cornet. And I'll probably hold on to this one. But as I mentioned, I do have a friend in the States that has one for sale. It's got the pinky hook, which is a little more comfortable to hold. And he's asking 200 plus shipping for that. I think that'd be a very, very good price. You can find these, of course, around cities if you know where to look. But thanks as always for tuning in. Now I will mention, before long, I'm going to do a video on the best mute that I have ever found. It is a Humes&Berg stone-lined doo-wah, and they called it the Do-It-All. And I think this is the cat's meow, as they used to say. Just a tremendous mute, far and away, to my thinking, the best mute that I've found. We'll have that coming up on some videos in the near future. As always, folks, thanks for tuning in. Take time, if you would, give me a thumbs up if you like to subscribe. We've got a ton of videos that we need to make. And as always, we enjoy our time together. Love the comments that you'll find under the videos. People that have had horns like this, experiences with them, their feelings about them. We appreciate that very much. Take care of yourself and someone near you.